waiting for some people to turn up. I have my first viewer, 3 viewers now. I should go to the chat, shouldn't I? So I can see the things. If I do this, I pause that. Okay, let's pop that out. A lot of problems with my Windows Chrome pop-ups appearing off my monitors. I hate that. So you have to do the whole Alt space window menu crap to see them. Hello, Eric. Let's just going to get my Windows all set up here so I can see what's going on. And over there. Let's do that. Let's do that. All right. And now I can see chat while I'm doing this as well in YouTube. All righty then. We have 4 viewers. Amazing. Turn my brightness up a bit. I'm going to do all this work down here on this screen, though. I'm looking at myself up there. I'm looking at the chat up there. But all the action will take place down here. You will not be looking at my ugly mug for the most of this video. It's 5 viewers. That's enough. 5 viewers is enough. Let's share my screen and put something useful on that screen before I do that. There we go. All right. So last time I got my app, Live ASP.NET was updated to 2.0 preview 1. That went not too bad. Struggled with the auth changes a little bit, figured that out, reverse engineered it, got that working. Then today, then I ran into problems with Razor Pages. I started moving my stuff to Razor Pages, hit a bug, which was a blocking bug. I really couldn't go any further. Was unable to reference the model from sections. So if I go to my index.cshtml page, you'll see down here at the bottom in this section, I'm like accessing the model. And that was failing. So in fact, all this stuff here is, I think, yeah, like that line is a leftover from when I was working last time. That really shouldn't be there. Like that. And so, yeah, doing this stuff was causing issues, causing it to throw an exception. So that has since been fixed. And I have done god-awful things to my project to get it running on some horrible Frankenstein hybrid of various builds of 2.0 Preview 2. And so what I did is my NuGet config file, I've added 2 feeds. I've added, this is the only way I could unblock myself. This is what you get for trying to use daily builds. So I have added the dev feed, which is kind of the how do you explain it? The most official, that's the wrong word. It's the most mature of the daily or CI feeds that we have. But it hasn't, it is often the one that lags the most simply because it does a bunch of stuff, and including signing and a whole bunch of stuff like that. So often what you'll find is this doesn't have anything on it for a number of days. And so if you want to get stuff that's newer and you don't want to wait for this feed, then you can drop back to the next sort of edge feed, which is CI dev, but that's a lot more volatile, and there's a lot fewer tests run. There isn't a coherent test done, so that packages that come from this feed may not depend on the same versions of things within that set. And so generally you will not use CI dev unless you really know what you're doing. And so I have to use both simply because the meta package, this great thing, this new thing, Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.all, only gets built on this feed. All right, the most mature, sort of the most built of all the feeds that we have before NuGet.org. But this feed is currently like 8 days old. They're trying to push a build through right now, working through some issues. And so to get the Razor pages fix that I need, I have to use this feed. So now I'm kind of crossing the streams, which resulted in me having to take a dependency on a bunch of individual things, as you can see here, in order to get the correct or latest version of those. So my app would, one, compile, and then two, not explode at runtime. So I've done that. I've spared you all that nastiness, and my app now does run, and I can prove that. Let's go and find my this one. There we go. There's my Chrome. That's here. So here it is, my app running locally. This is actually a Razor page now. Okay, so my home page is working. If I look at the source, I've got some debug information that I kind of spew into the bottom of my pages, so you can kind of see what's going on. So I've included this one. This is a new change as of today. So I'm showing the view path. So I know that this is coming from a page because it's in a folder called pages. And I'm showing the view assembly. So like what assembly was this compiled page served out of? And I do this so that once I've published, in which point the pages and or views get pre-compiled, I can see very clearly that they're pre-compiled because it's a fixed assembly name for pre-compiled views. This assembly name is obviously random, and this gets generated every time the page changes. So if I change the markup and refresh it, that'll change. Whereas with pre-compiled views, they get done as part of the publish process, and then it'll have a name like my application.precompiled views or compiled views.dll, and so it's very obvious. Like if I go to the live website, liveasp.net, and I look at the source on this one, and I scroll to the bottom, I'll zoom in a bit. You can see here that I previously just had one little bit of metadata here called view type, and that you can see here live.asp.net.precompiled views. I've since split that out into two properties so that I can see the executing view path separate to the assembly name. And just so you can see how I did that, if I go into my layout page and go down to the bottom here, you can see just echoing out a bunch of crap at the bottom in some HTML comments that aids me as the owner of this site in determining exactly what's going on the server. And you can see differences between the local dev environment. Like here, I'm running on 64-bit, x64. The machine name is Damien Dell. That's my laptop name. The deployment ID is a git char, and you can see that it says it's local. Okay, so I've got some code in here that if you're interested in, uses git to figure out what the current commit is and then echoes it out here so I can see it. And we're on the live site, it knows it's actually deployed using Kudu in Azure App Service. So you can see here that the operating system is 64-bit, but the framework itself is actually running on 32-bit. Okay, because in Azure App Service currently .NET Core is always 32-bit, and we're currently working on getting 64-bit supported. And you can see the deployment char is different, obviously, because this is an older version of the site, the live site, and it says Kudu instead of saying local. So it has determined when the app booted up, it determined that it was deployed via Kudu and grabbed the char out of there, so it knows at what point in Git's history of this repo was it deployed. And so your machine name's obviously different too. All right, that's enough going on about that. Let's continue the move of got the homepage working, it seems. So if I go back and look at my index.cshtml, this is index.cshtml in the pages folder. You can see that in the tooltip there. So that's this one that I moved in the last video. And then I spent a good half hour hacking to try and figure out why it was broken. I have since obviously got that working. So everything else here seems fine. So I'm still using the partial for the YouTube show. That's all fine. I don't think there's anything particular about this I have to undo. I seem to remember, I think this was a partial maybe, so I could probably change that back. I seem to remember us just taking the contents of that partial and sticking it in there. So I think I have here it is, where is it? I have an embed partial or something, live show partial. Here it is, this one here. Yeah, so you can see this code here, and that currently takes a home view model, but I'm not using view models as such right now. This is the page class. This is a page, so it has a page model, which is behind here. And it's currently not, it's not using the view model. So I just sort of lifted that out and embedded it directly because, it's that much code. It doesn't really warrant being in a partial. It doesn't have to be reused anywhere. So I think I'll just leave that. That's totally fine. That makes that pretty straightforward. So my homepage is working. I mean, that's the crux of it there. Now, I still have over here, you can see I have a bunch of stuff in the views folder. First of all, I have my admin UI, which I'll move later on. I have my account stuff, which is just a sign out callback, so that if I sign out using Azure AD, which is what this site is set up to authenticate with, it lands you on this page. It says, hey, you have successfully signed out. So I actually don't show that link anywhere in production. It's only ever shown in development. So if I go and look at the site, I think I'm not signed in here. I'm signed in this browser. So if I jump over to the home page in Edge, where I am actually signed in, and that's going to add me that. Oh, that's weird. Oh, okay. So that's something I have to change. My link generation obviously is now incorrect because my home page is now a page, not a view, not a controller. And so the home link is still being generated as going to admin, which is obviously wrong. So let's go fix that. Let's just fix things as we find them, right? So let's go to the layout page. I really should just move the layout. Well, I'll do that last. Hey, I'll move the layout page from views. We'll move all these individual things out of views, and then eventually all the shared stuff will no longer need to be in views because it's not shared anymore. It's just part of the pages stuff, and then I'll move it all into pages, and it should just keep working. So right now I need to change the links at the top of the page. So I think I'm in the footer here. Let's have a look. Where is that? It's probably in the, it's probably staring at me straight in the face, and I'm just not looking at it. So that's the footer. It's obviously because it says footer, and that's pre-content. There's nothing there. And then I'm read in a body. Is it in the index page? No, it's in the admin page. That's right. Oh, that's why it's not working. See, that's here. There it is. Breadcrumb right there. So that's incorrect. Now, this view is still served from a controller, but that doesn't matter. You can mix and match these things. So I can do this now. I can do ASP page. All right, you can see that there's a tag helper for that. And I can say the page is going to be, let's have a look. I think it's slash pages. Actually, it's just slash index. So then if I go back here, I go back to the page where I show this, which is this page here. And if I hover over that, you can now see it's actually going to the right place. Look in the bottom left-hand corner of Chrome. And not only is it not going to the admin page, which is what it was doing before, it's gone to the root of the site. So even though I put in the index page like such, the page, the route generation or the URL generation, for pages is smart enough to know that if you're routing to ASP to a page of /index, you can just omit the index bit because we look up index by default, right? And so that's what it's done. When it generated the URL based on that route, because pages obviously is built on routing, because pages is built on MVC, it's all the same technology, then it got rid of it. So if I hit home over here, sure enough, I'm going back to home now, which is taking me to the page. So that's great. Let's delete the old index. So this one here, I don't need this home folder anymore because I'm not using a controller to generate my home page. So I can delete that. And if I go to my home controller, look at what's in here. It's a bunch of stuff commented out. I have all this get iCal stuff. I'm going to have to do something with that. So I might have to leave my home controller here because I'm actually using a formatter to. And I could do that logic in a page, but that's probably an abuse. The Pages framework obviously is really is optimized for serving stuff to the browser. That's really what it's about. It's about serving HTML to the browser. You can serve anything from it, but you don't get the same type of pipeline that you do with a controller because the controllers are designed to enable things like Coneg, different types of filters. We have filters in Pages. We're adding more right now, but we don't have the same type of filters because the pipeline is a little bit different. So I don't need the home one. That's commented out right now. I'm not sure, did I maintain that disabled cache thing? Let's have a look. So if I go over to my index.cshtml.cs and look at my onGet handler. Yep, so it looks like I kept all that stuff there last time, so I can just delete this entire method now. I don't need this, okay? And then do I need all these dependencies? Now I'm not rendering the home page, so I definitely use the live show details, that's there. I don't use the show service anymore, so I can get rid of that. Get rid of that, and I can get rid of that. Okay. And I'm not using the mapper anymore because I was using that for mapping from the sort of data models and the service results into the view model, so I can get rid of that. So now my home controller is really only dealing with two things currently. It's dealing with the get ical call, which is on the front page. You can download a ical file, and that's fine. That's appropriate to leave in a controller. I think it's much more API centric than it is view centric or page centric. And then the last thing, it has an error. Error could totally be a page, and I think I'll just do that right now. So let's go and add an error page. What I'll do is I'll just copy the error file, which is right here. I'm going to copy that from there into my pages folder, out of shared and into pages. And then we'll wait. This is a known issue. Doing file operations inside Solution Explorer and .NET Core causes VS to have a little bit of a tiz for 5 or 6 seconds. We are working on that. It's obviously quite frustrating, but that is being worked on. Let's turn this into a page by putting @page in front of it. Done. That's a page. Now I could add a view model, a page model, I should say, and a code behind and stuff, but there is literally no processing on this page. It does nothing. So I could just leave it like this, which I probably will. And so then I'll come back out here. I will get rid of that. The route was already /error. This page will react to /error because it is called error and it is inside the pages folder, which is the default root. And so that's it. That's how I get my error page. I mean, we should just test that it works. Let's just first test that I can go directly to it. Now, I'm not confident that that's actually recompiled. Let's have a look. All right, so I've got an error. So that's good. Yeah, so that's what I think's happened. It hasn't actually recompiled properly. It should do. It should detect when I change CS files, and the whole VS IS Express hookup that we have will rebuild the application as necessary, but something went a little awry there, so we'll just do it manually. And oh, look at that. That's interesting. All right, it looks like it's gotten out of whack, so let's just exit. It's saying it's in use, so it's likely that it's lost its coordination with IS Express. So, yeah, so that's building now. So I'll just relaunch it. Control F5, launch that debugging. Oh, and look at that. It hasn't given up the port yet. So at this point, I might just close the solution. I'm sure you've all seen this. Your port isn't released by the operating system quickly sometimes. And so, okay, this is all coming in. Let's see if VS can bind IS Express to that port now when I launch. Control F5 again. Don't have an error just yet, but it's not super responsive yet either. So it looks like it's still. Oh, see, that's interesting. It's installing packages. So maybe there was a build while I was talking. This is the other danger. Yeah, this is the other danger of doing live demos while using dev branches. Is I could very well have just got the world updated underneath me by a result of all these being stars and me pointing at 2 different feeds. That is indefinitely possible. So let me just build this again. Yeah, see, this looks like a really bad, the world now doesn't align because I have 879 errors. Let's go and check the feed. It may be that I can simply grab everything from the dev feed now. So let's check the dev feed. The hybrid SAS is saying .NET Watch also doesn't react to file copy, maybe similar. Is that in .NET Watch? I please encourage you to log an issue if you have found places where .NET Watch is not detecting file changes. We have 2 types of file watches. One's polling, and the other one uses the operating system's file change notifications. If you're finding situations in which it doesn't work, please do let us know. This wasn't due to file copy. Like, I had been editing C# files as well, so that should have been enough to trigger VS's knowledge that the files had changed. All right, so let's have a look. It doesn't look like this is particularly new there. So you see Razor Pages still says 8 days old. That isn't always incredibly accurate. Like, if the build has just passed, then this page might not have updated yet. But, I mean, we definitely saw, if I go to the output window, we definitely saw my package manager log say that it had installed stuff. Right? So I'm getting a package downgrade. I suspect that because I'm still using the existing public preview of the SDK, which is inferring this version of .NET Core Preview 1. But now I have packages in my graph that are expecting this version of .NET Core. And so far, that hasn't caused me an issue. But as I said, I'm living very dangerously. It is absolutely possible that that I will get broken by new builds. So we'll just see what happens. So if I build this again, see, this doesn't look good. Let me try clean, and then I'll try command line build next. Sometimes it's unfortunate because it was all working just fine. And then when I reopened VS, NuGet restore happened. I got new stuff from the Migrate feed, which I'm guessing has just happened. And again, we can just check that. I can go over to the CI feed here, refresh on this. If I look at, yeah, you can see, you can already see, like 4 minutes ago, that was reposted. So if there are now breaking changes from what I had working 2 hours ago to this, then, you know, then I could be dead in the water yet again. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. So let's try command line build. Go to here. Okay. I am still using the public SDK, right? The preview, which is the, you know, the problem here is that I'm crossing the worlds, and there's a reason for that. Currently, there are a couple of things in the latest builds of the SDK that make it difficult, if not impossible, to work with the publicly released preview of Visual Studio, which is what I'm using here. I'm using the public preview. You can just get this from the visualstudio.com/download/preview, whatever it is, 15.3 preview. This works with .NET Core 2.0 Preview 1. It does no longer work with Preview 2 bits completely. It's just the nature, unfortunately, of, you know, daily builds and things like that. We do our best to try not to break things, but sometimes things slip through. So anyway, I'll try a build. We'll see what this happens. We'll see what this does. If this fails here, then I might be, yeah. See, I might be in a whole world of trouble. The next thing I could try would be to roll back. Though rather than use stars, I could roll back to the previous builds, which I might actually try, because it will only take me a couple of minutes. And if that works, then I can keep the video going. And if it doesn't, then I'll just have to stop it again. So yeah, so I have a wall of red, which is, you know, not uncommon when dealing with, and this is a really bad, like it says, it doesn't know what object is, you know, predefined type system.object is not defined or imported. Like, okay, I have something really, really not lined up here, which is very common when you start. In fact, I have no NuGet node. So under dependencies, there's nothing in NuGet. What if I do a restore here, actually? What does this say? I'm guessing that package downgrade now is what's killing me here, right? So this package downgrade, which is always a bad thing. You see a warning that says package downgrade, you know you're going to be in for a world of pain, all right? It might work, but it probably won't. Eduardo is suggesting let's try clean and restart VS. So I did that. I did a clean. The fact that it's not working from the command line, though, is pretty open shut. So I can do this, right? If I really want to, I could do a, let's go back in here. I could just, you know, delete the object folder and delete the bin folder, right? So there's all my transient stuff gone. I could do a restore. The VS isn't even involved anymore. I'm still using the pre-release, the old, you know, the public SDK, not the nightly builds of the SDK. All right, because I know that the public one works with VS. It says it used the feeds. I still get the downgrade, but if I build, I'm assuming I'm still going to. Then my next step will be to try and roll back the versions of things. Oh, no, it does work. It could have been a stale. It could have been a stale folder. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. It's always worth trying these things, isn't it? So what I did, I deleted the obj folder, which is where all the temporary NuGet assets are stored, the result of restore. And I deleted the bin folder. So now I'm not getting an error. I didn't build, obviously, but I've got my restore package downgrade, which I expect. Now if I build, is it going to build in VS? Or am I going to be relegated to building from the command line? That would be most unfortunate. Oh, it succeeded. Look at that. Look at that. See, Eduardo? It's always worth cleaning and restarting and trying some command line stuff. Just one more time. Just one more time. Anyway, so that worked. That's great. So let's see if it runs. Let's control F5 because I haven't seen it run since I updated all those packages, and I wouldn't be surprised if something else snaps. But you know, let's look positive. Whoa, okay, so something happened. Looks like I have exceptions again on my static files middleware, which I was seeing earlier today. See, I'm getting 404s for all my static files. So that's interesting. Let's have a look. It's requesting lib bootstrap dist css bootstrap. If I go and look at my dub root, I have no lib folder. So that'll be because gulp hasn't run, which is interesting because I ran it before this video and I don't think I deleted anything. So I did clean. That's what it is. I cleaned, didn't I? So Eduardo suggested I cleaned, and I have clean bound to the gulp clean task, which I really shouldn't do because I didn't bind build to the other task that's required to make it work again. So anyway, I'll just double click on default down here in task runner. That's going to run gulp. So now you can see my lib folder just turned up. So I'm copying everything from all the Bower packages or the NPM packages. So there we go. Now my CSS works. So I'm back. I'm back in a functioning state. Good stuff. Let's go back to the admin screen, make sure that works. It does. That's good. It means my cookies still work. So that's great. All right. So now we can get back to what I was doing, which was continuing the move to Razor pages. I was trying to get the error page to come up, wasn't I? So let's try that. Go to /error. All right. So I have an error. That's good. If I look at the source, I can see that it's being view path is still pages index.cshtml. That is weird. Why is the view path index.cshtml? That seems totally wrong, doesn't it? Let's try blah, 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 blah. I should get a 404, which I did. That's good. Got error. Did I go over to my home controller? I did it. I mean, so it's definitely serving from a page. And if I look at my error page, I guess I could just do this, right? Hello. Go back to my error. Hello. So it's definitely that page. All good. Although for some reason, oh, you know what I've done? I know what it is. I wrapped that stuff in a cache tag, thinking that that was really smart, but it's in the layout page. So it's going to get cached to the first result of this entire block running, which if you hit the home page, means that this is going to be there. So what I should do is remove those two from the cache and just stick those there, right? Because these obviously change as you move from view to view. I mean, once you hit a view, it doesn't change until you change it. But these things don't change once the app is started. So that hopefully should fix that issue. So there's my error page. If I do view page source, I should see now, yep, there it is, that my view path is set to pages error.cshtml. Excellent. So now I have 2 pages in my app. I have my home page and I have my error page. I guess I should probably test that if I actually throw an exception, it shows the error page. So let's do that. Let's go to my index page and let's force an error. So let's just go in here and do like throw new exception. Oh, see if F5 works. What wasn't working before. Looks like it is. It's recompiling. Good. Otherwise, it would be instant. So it looks like that's working now. Okay, except that it's not because it didn't actually. Oh, it didn't actually explode. So I think it's making a liar of me. Rebuild over here in Visual Studio. Unreachable code detected. I should have known. Hey, I guess I should just put it to the bottom. What's interesting is that it took a while to come back. If I come over here, see this? That is odd. Well, so I have to relaunch again. Let's relaunch. Control F5. It's doing something. There we go. And there's my developer exception page. That's good. That's good. I want to see my non-developer exception page though. And the quickest way to do that is I will shut down the app. I will come over to my properties. I'll come over to my launch settings and I will change the IIS one to be production instead of environment. I'll relaunch that, Control F5. Now I should be running under production. I think it'll work. It might not. We'll see. Yep, and it worked. Good. So now I'm getting an error page because I'm throwing an exception on my homepage. And just to test that, just to get full circle, because you know it's good to be anal about these things and really make sure it's doing what you expect. Somehow I have index open. Oh, that's the admin one. Okay. Let me go to my index code behind. Let me remove this line like so. I'm going to force a build. I don't know why it's not rebuilding. And then we'll hit F5 again. So I'm still in production. I didn't change back to development yet. So I should hopefully Yep, homepage works. And I'm in production, and I can test that by going to the page source because I echo it out. There it is, environment productions. Good. So everything seems to be working as necessary. Let's go back to my launch settings and reset before I forget. All right, so good. That's all working. My error page is now coming from the right place. It's a page. It's a copyright 2005. Yes, well, that's when I created the site. I don't even know what the legal ramifications of the copyright date are. I'm sure it doesn't make any difference. Christian is suggesting, Christian, you want to send me a pull request that updates the, I don't know. I mean, that's when I created the site. So, you know, maybe you're supposed to change it every time you change content on the site. I don't know. Let's keep it evergreen, right? Let's change it to 2017. I'm not going to automate it. That would be too much. I need to make sure that I'm consciously coming in here and ticking this date over when I know something substantial has changed. All right. So I have my homepage working, right? Here's my homepage. It's a Razor page. It's all goodness. Well, I'm zoomed into the world there. I have my error page, which is great. Next, I have to do the slightly more interesting thing, which is the admin page. The admin page, which for those who haven't seen it, is this page. This is where all the magic happens on the behind the scenes on live.asp.net. So before the show starts, we can come in here. We can say, oh, howdy ho. I can save that. And if I go back to the home page, this is obviously either crashing or just initializing something. That's good. It didn't crash. Hit F5. There you go. It says standby howdy ho now. So that's good. And I can stick in a live show embed URL. So here's one I prepared earlier. Thank you, Edge. Hit save. I don't know what episode that was. Hit F5. There it is. So that's some random. Oh, that's yesterday's community stand-up. It is Casso. Thanks, Scott, who typed that in a hurry because we were having trouble getting it going. And then you can also put in some HTML. So you can say like, this will show under the video. Save that. F5, there it is. This will show under the video. So, you know, super, super advanced stuff, this website. This is like custom content management system. And then you can set the next show date. Now, this thing is just annoying. I might have to turn this off. This has only just started happening. So I think in the creators update for Windows, Edge got updated, and now it shows this god-awful date time. Well, it looks like it's just time. It's showing for some reason a time picker in my next show date time, and you can see kind of the placeholder. It just doesn't line up well. It just looks terrible. And I'm assuming that's because let me get rid of this. I'm assuming that's because our metadata about this field is saying it's a date time, and we echo that out in via the tag helper and using HTML5 input types. And so I might go and change that first before I turn it into a page, because that's been bugging me. So let's come over to here, index, here it is. Here's the page I was just looking at, or the form. And one of these things here, next show date PST, here it is. And so I'm specifying a format. So, okay. So that, I think, flows into, let's have a look. Sets the generated value attribute to that formatted string. Okay. So that makes sense. If it does have a value, it doesn't have a value. So, because if I look in the inspector here, look in the inspector, you can see that it has a placeholder. Am I setting that? I am setting that. So I'm setting the placeholder, which for some reason now looks terrible. Although I'm setting it to that, which is HHMM, but it's showing as that. I think Edge is doing something special simply because the type is set to datetime-local. I think this is a change that we made in MVC Core 2. This rings a bell. Let's go have a look. Go have a look in here. Datetime-local. Let's look in the issues. This. Look at this. PR. So in January, Jazz, one of our developers, changed datetime to datetime local because datetime, it turns out, wasn't doing anything in browsers. But you can see quite clearly that after we've changed it to datetime local, it is. But honestly, I don't like what it's doing. It's only showing me time. It's not showing me date. Am I just missing it? Like, I click this, 9 o'clock, 3:30 p.m. I hit there. See, it's not filling in the month part. Oh, I see. You have to click. Oh, is that really good? If I tab into it, oh, look at that. So Edge chooses to render this as two separate kind of sub bits. And if I tab in there and hit enter, then I can set a date. Okay, that's not so bad. And then hopefully this stuff still works. This is my helper that I have on the page. I did that in a previous video. And no, that is totally broken now. Look at that. That's not good. Why is that broken? So if I click on that, it's not working. Is there an error coming up in the console? No. Well, that's yet another thing to debug. I guess I could attempt to, let's have a look. Can I do this? I usually use Edge when I sign in simply because it uses my Microsoft corporate credentials and I don't like mixing them. So let me see if I can sign into Chrome in incognito just so that I can use, let's be frank, Chrome's superior developer tools to see if I can't get to the bottom of this a little bit and just to observe how the differences in the browsers. Sorry, everyone. I'll just move this up here. Don't want to give away too much about my length of my password and whatnot. Okay. You just sit here and watch this PR while I type my password in. Okay. So now I'm in. So here you can see instantly it's lined up, right? So looks great in Chrome. And if I click on, and so they don't show it by default when you click on it. It looks like they have an arrow here. Look at that. They have like a really nice calendar picker. So I'm glad we made the change because that's actually really nice. And then you can just go, hey, yeah, I want next Tuesday and the time I want. They have no picker for the time though. It looks like, what's this one? Nope, nothing. So they don't have a picker for the time, it seems. Ah, they have spinners for the time. Okay. Okay. Yeah, people are counting the number of keyboard ticks or passwords. I didn't think that through, did I? Ah, never mind. All right, so, okay, that's not too bad. The question is, does this still work? No, so this is totally broken. So it looks like the move to 2.0 and changing that to date time local has broken my little helper button here. So let's put a pin in that one. I'll come back and fix that later. And let's continue just updating this thing to a page. Now, what's interesting is, obviously the rendering difference here is like, I don't know why Edge is aligning that down there and Chrome seems to be handling it with aplomb. So if anyone has any idea, like I really don't want to spend the next 30 minutes of this video dicking around with CSS and why the picker and blah, 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 blah is doing that. But if you know what I should do? I should just go and log a bug, shouldn't I? And I'll just forget and I'll never fix it, because we'll just make do. But still, let's do that. So next Tuesday, helper button. Helper button on admin form doesn't work after updating to 2.0. Seems to be due to the change. Where was it? This one. Due to the change. The change input type to date time dash local. Okay. So it's a bug. Now I could just, if I just want to restore my previous behavior, which I probably will, what I'll do is I'll come over here and you can just override all this stuff, right? So rather than relying on the tag helper to do this for me, I can come in here and just change type back to text, right? And then if I come over to the page and hit F5, you can see it's gone back, right? So that just overrode whatever the tag helper defaulted to. This is one of the really nice things about tag helpers is, look, I mean, there's a type property. It tells you what it's going to do. It'll default to something based on the metadata for the field, this one. But you can just override it. Like I can set it back to date time if I wanted to, which is what it was before, because that's what we used to do, but it doesn't do anything. None of the browsers do anything with it. So I may as well just make it text because I built this thing, right? See? So that works. That sets it to next Tuesday. So that works. Anyway, and if I save that, the whole point was that I was trying to show you that the other thing the admin page does is if I come over here and I hit refresh, now it's doing that countdown as a result of that date being saved. Okay. So now that we all know what that does, let's update this page to a page instead of being a form. Sorry, a controller. All right, so let's grab the admin view, which is this one here. I'm just going to Control C that and Control V it straight into pages. Oh, I've already done it. Yeah, we'll just replace it. No, I won't, because that's an index. That would be a really bad idea. What I want to do is create an admin folder. Then I want to paste it in there. I don't want to run my home page. That would be self-defeating, wouldn't it? Okay, so let's change this to a page. At page. That was pretty straightforward. I want to create myself a page model because obviously there's quite a lot of logic in this, in the admin controller. So I'm going to create a new class and I'm going to call it index.cshtml.cs. We're all going to sit here and watch Visual Studio struggle with adding a file. There we go. Well, index model will derive from page model. Control dot that in. A public, probably have to be async. Async task. I don't think I have anything to return. We'll see. We'll do it. Async result. Not async result. What am I doing? Action result. Remember, page handlers can return action results just like controller actions, which enables you to not just return, say, please render the page. You can return a redirect, or you can return any action result. Actually, it'll just get rendered, and the page won't get rendered instead. And I'll do on get async. So now I have my page. Let's organize ourselves a bit here. Now it's currently using the admin view model. I need to change it, obviously, to index model. If I hover over that, you can see that it has gone to pages.admin.index model. There is more than one index model. Obviously, there's an index model under this index.cshtml, which is my home page. It's called index model, but it's in the root namespace, right? .pages, whereas this one that I just created is under the admin namespace. And so the reason this all works is that we added new support in Razor Pages, as a part of doing Razor Pages, I should say, to set the namespace of the classes generated from your views and pages. And so if you look in my view imports, you can see I'm setting that here at namespace live.asp.net pages. And that means that any Razor page, any Razor file that's underneath this folder, because that's where the view imports is going to have its namespace made as a result of this thing. And it's this directive is smart enough that it can it understands the sort of the semantics of subfolders and using subfolders as part of the namespace and all that goodness. So you just set it once in the root in your view imports, and then everything just kind of flows and looks really, really nice. And so, yeah, so here's my index model. That's my admin index model. Of course, none of my stuff works now because I don't have any of those properties. So I have to go and find what was the admin view model, this one here. And I need to take everything in here. Now, I might have to make a change to this. We will see. I'm predicting something. Let's see, I will definitely have to do this. But we'll start here. And let's go to my admin view model. Let's add all these properties. Okay, metadata. Custom after now validation model. This is going to be the undoing of this thing here. I'm going to have to move some stuff. I will do that in a minute. Everything else here is just like, these are all basically helper things. Well, these ones are obviously here. Okay, so I want to buy, let me have a look. Let me think. Okay, some of these are read-only. Some of them are bound from the page. Okay, I might factor this into an input model when I add my post method. So let's open up the controller, admin controller. Whoa, there's a lot of stuff. All right, so I'm going to need all this stuff, right? So let's take all this into my instructor for this page model, because I'm basically moving from using a controller, whoops, to a page model. So let's do that. control dot our way to no squigglies. I'm going to need all this. This standard constructor injection fair. All right. Okay. So there's my page model with its stuff. Yes, it does work. Jeffrey asked, does that also work the at namespace generation with regular MVC? Yes, it does. So pretty much, like, as I said a few times, like Razor Pages, we really did not set out to build an entirely new framework. We added features to MVC. And so when we added things like namespace, we made sure it worked for both. So yeah, you can, if you don't, if Razor Pages isn't your cup of tea for whatever reason, that's fine. Continue using views and actions and all the rest of it, but you can now easily control the namespace that your views are generated in. So there you go. All right, so let's do that. Now let's go down here to my index. So this obviously maps to the get. So let's grab that. And we'll stick that in my, here on get. But it's still using view models and all types of stuff. So we will adjust all that momentarily. Let's return the page. Obviously don't need to give it a model. Success message, blah, blah, blah. We'll do all that in a minute. We'll make this idiomatic as we go. That's the input model. Let's not do the input just yet. Let's do the rendering first. I have a clear cache post. I won't add that yet. We'll do that later. I'm not using track show event yet. I just need to update admin view model, which I may not want. We'll see. And that calls, is that called get next Tuesday? It might actually. I am calling get next Tuesday. Excellent. Where am I calling that from? Page line 88, right there. Okay. Okie dokie. All right. So when the page is rendered, it used to create, the view used to create a view model, which basically had one thing on it, success message. And you can see it used the old temp data pattern. We have a much better way of doing that now as part of the Razor Pages work. So I can just do this. Message. I can say that's backed by temp data. And there you go. I don't have to do that anymore. So I don't need a view model anymore. I can delete. What doesn't it like that for? I already had one. Ha ha. We'll just delete that one. Okay. So I don't need this. Ah, okay. I see what's going on here. But remember, I copied everything from admin view model onto this page. So I don't need any of this stuff anymore. What I need to do is update. I need to update this thing to say update model properties. I'll just pass in. I don't need to pass in anything anymore actually, because it's a member field. It's a member method, sorry. So I can just say do this because they're all properties on the page model itself. Right? It just maps to this. Okay. So I'm using my little lightweight mappery thing to update, basically to take all the properties from the live show details result, which is just a POCO that comes out of the live show details service, and then stamp all that stuff onto here. So I got no errors now. That's good. Let's build that. Building, building, building. Okay, succeeded. Let's forcibly remove the this thing here so that I can't get any route confusion. So now I don't have an index get on my admin controller. I'll rebuild again. And of course, I've got some name ofs somewhere, haven't I? Yes, of course I do. So let's go to this. And I had another one down here. I mean, this is all going to get deleted anyway. So this is just standard porting code sort of fare. One more, I think. Is there one more? Oh, that was silly. Okay. Very good. Build that. And all being well, I can come over here, hit F5, and it'll render. And or it won't because IS Express has stopped running. So let's control F5 again. Obviously, I did something at some point to stop it from being loaded. All right, so that's good. Haven't broken anything else in the meantime. I changed the. Why is that not working? Okay. Let's go back and figure this out. So I have admin, I have index. Okay, I did have this one too, right? Where's my incognito? There it is. I'm getting a 404. Oh no, so it works over here. Great. So somehow I have made. What? That is bizarre. Okay. Okay. Is that just a caching issue? Okay, that was weird. I was hitting F5. Don't know Edge. All right. Anyway, so it's working. And look, I have data. So it is actually binding data. So this is a page. Again, we can check. This is why it's nice to echo stuff out during development. Like view page. View page is admin index. So I'm now rendering the admin as a view page. All right. Here's my secret data. I'm sure you couldn't have figured that out. YouTube application name. I won't show you the key. And my Azure Storage Connection string. Actually, I think it's empty because it's localhost. Yeah, so that's good, but I can guarantee that the post is not going to work. So, as in some aspects of the post won't work because I haven't bound anything yet. So let's go back now to my page and we need to add the ability to process the form. Oh, that's just horrific. Let me remove and sort all those. And see, this is a brand new install of Visual Studio, so I should have synced all my settings. No, can't live with it. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Let's hit that one. Play system directives first, please. Thank you. The only problem with that is I kind of want the Microsoft ones to be underneath it. So we need to get the people to support putting in other stuff in there, Microsoft up. Okay, let's do the next thing, which is I want to support post. I want to support updating this. So there's my get method. Let's add my post method. Now I'm going to change this because I don't ever return anything but a page. I'm just going to make this task. I need to return action result. It just defaults if you don't return anything from your page handler, it just renders the page. Public async task of whereas I know this one I do redirect on some cases. So on post async. Okay, so now I'm posting. This is when I hit the submit button or the save button down here. That one. This one is a different one. We'll do that one later. Okay, so on post async, I need to go back to my admin controller, grab everything in the save method. This is using an input model, so we'll see what I end up doing here. So this will not just work for a couple of reasons. One, obviously, this is all still written with the assumption that there's view models and stuff. Two, I haven't told it that any of these properties up here should be bound on post. You have to opt into property binding. So like, things here, these, I would have to mark these as please bind them. Now, but the big problem is that we don't currently support in Razor Pages validation of properties on the page model itself. Like we only validate things that are on separate types. So you can put a property on the page model, mark it as binding, and then it is a custom type that has validation properties, that will work. Or if you accept a parameter in your on post that is of that type and it has validation properties, that will work just fine. But what doesn't work is things like this, right? I have my properties flat. They're straight on my page model, and then I've attempted to put validation properties on them. They just won't validate. Like you'll just get everything is fine, it's valid, and you won't get any validation. So I'm going to have to maintain the use of an admin input model, right? Which is probably best practice anyway, until we add a feature to do that. Now, luckily, I'm already using an admin input model. You can see it right here. So I should be able to do this. Better is to grab this, come down here, stick this in line like so, right? Tell it that I just want to use the page model, no, index model, this model as the metadata. So I could, all the metadata for the input is going to come from the properties on this class. So I just have them all in one place, right? The reason that's interesting is because obviously I render this for gets as well as posts. You have to draw the form first with all of the metadata, as well as accept the result of the form, which is a post, and you want the same metadata plus validation. So you want all that to be in one place if you possibly can, which is what we're able to do with this buddy type model metadata type attribute. You can also use other subsystems, third-party ones like fluid validation and those type of things to achieve a similar result, because the model metadata system is all pluggable. And then I could accept, there's two ways I could do this. I could either accept admin input model like this, and that would work just fine. Or I could choose to create a page model property, and I wouldn't put it here, but I'm just showing you. I could do this, admin input model. I could probably change the name of this now, right? So, because it's a subclass, a child class, I should say. Input model, okay. And then that, I decorate it with a particular attribute, bind property, will get bound on posts only, basically on non-gets that will get bound. And in that case, I could remove this and simply rely on these two things to get things bound. This is just personal choice. Okay, it's absolutely personal choice. Just like lots of things in MVC, you can achieve the same thing multiple ways. In this case, what I think I'm going to do is do it the other way. I'm not going to use the page properties, page model properties, sorry. I'm going to take my input in here. So yeah, so I have an input model, right? I have my post input model. It's in here. I called it input, and yeah, simple as that. And so then now all this stuff should just work, because the metadata from this, including next show date, will map to the next show date that's up here. Where is it? Next show date, next show date. Here it is. And my custom validation attribute should kick in. So we'll find out. All right. So here's my post. Now, I mean, maybe I should put this. I'm putting this direct. I kind of like having it directly above where I'm using it, but you know, do whatever you want. If you want to put that in a separate class, separate file, if you want to put it down here in a region, or you knock yourself out, I'm not going to judge you. All right. So let's continue. Model state is valid. Then if there was an error, then we'd obviously just need to return. So I will return page instead of do any of this stuff anymore, because yeah, if it's not valid, just render the page, right? They don't redirect because you did a post, it was invalid, just render the page as a result of the post with all the errors. And to do that, I need to get all the data as part of the get again. So I basically need to duplicate what happens up here. And as you can see, it basically just calls update model properties. So I can just do that. Okay. Same thing. Okay, so that's fine. So if there's an error, it'll just return the page after having populated the other stuff that it needs to render the form again. Otherwise, it does a little manipulation of the URL to make sure that it's HTTPS for the YouTube link if it starts with HTTP. Then it calls track show event, which I haven't copied over yet. Track show event is a call out to application insights to track a custom event, which is basically saying if you set a live show URL, then mark it as having started the show, and if you delete it, mark it as having finished, basically. So let's import that. That currently, what does it want? Admin input something. It used to take, oh, I see. It took the input model. Okay, well that's fine. It's just that now it's called input. Because it's already part of this closed inside this class as it is. All right, so that's that done, tracking the show. Then I map from the input onto the live show details. So is that right? Which way? Source onto destination. Yep, so I grab the input, I slam that onto the live show details thing, and then I set the next show date by converting from the PST date to UTC, because I always store in UTC, even though that we're presenting the form in Pacific time, as you can see here, Pacific time, because that's where everyone who uses it thinks. And then I save that like so, and then rather than having to do all this stuff, I can just do this now. Temp data backed properties, beautiful thing. Live, that will only last for a single page render, basically. That'll get set into temp data on the server, which by default now is a cookie, gets encrypted and signed and all that stuff. Sent down to the browser, because I'm sending a redirect here, that will then come back with the redirect. That will repopulate this property up here by default because it matches the name and it's marked as temp data. And so that message will round trip across a redirect. Beautiful. Securely. And I'm not going to redirect to action. Obviously, I'm just going to redirect back to the page. And we have a nice method for that. Redirect to page. I mean, much simpler than MVC. I don't have to tell it what thing to redirect to in the case of doing a post redirect get. For pages, we assume that you're going to do post redirect get because you're building HTML forms. And so we can have a redirect to page overload that doesn't take any arguments and it just takes you back to the page. That's it. Let's see if I can build that. All right, that built. Let's see if I can actually use it. Hit F5. Refresh this page. All right, let's go back to the home page. Just make sure that's all good. That's there. Good, it's there. Let me add a message. Howdy. Right, explosion. No route matches the supplied values. That will be because I didn't update my form action. So let's go back to the index. This is my page. Right, I don't need this using anymore. And I need to update this. I'm still posting to, the wrong place. I don't need any of this because I'm just going to post back to the same place. So easy. Just get rid of all the stuff that qualifies where to do it. Let's go back. Let's re-render the form. I can't just hit F5 here because it's still going to try and post the wrong place. All right. So let's do howdy. Let's do save. Oh, it's still doing it. All right. What have I done wrong? Let's do a control F5. Let's view the source. Make sure it's posting to the right place. All right. So I'm doing a post. That's fine. So in theory, so it did actually save it. Now, so the redirect is what's failing. So that's interesting, actually. That is super interesting. So it looks like it succeeded and then it failed to redirect. Really? Did I find another issue? Let's have a look. Main action result. MVC internal. Blah, 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 blah. I might have to actually debug here. Let's try that. All right, let's attach the debugger. Come back over here, hit the back. F5. All right. Body changed. See, not even hitting my, so I am dubious. You know what I didn't do? I didn't remove this method. So it's actually not coming here at all. Silly me. Okay, let's rebuild that. That shows you that it's /admin, the post to /admin was still being captured by this route, not by the page. So there you go. You got a sneak peek into the precedence there in this case. I'm not going to dive into that anymore. That'll probably hurt my head. But when you have multiple things that match the same route, things can change. Right now. Amazing. Look at that. So howdy set from the page. Hit save. All right, I'm getting my live show details successfully. That's good. That means it round tripped in temp data without any problem. If I come back to here, hit F5, indeed it has changed. That's good. And if we really just want to make sure it's doing what we expect, let's go back and actually debug through it. All right, so I'll attach the debugger. The old host, that won't do me much good. All right. Hi there. Okay, so now I'm in here. Here's my input class. I didn't put anything in for these two. This was round tripped because it's already set, so that's fine. Load, all this stuff is fine. It is valid. So next thing obviously to check is that if I put in an invalid date, it still invalidates. So we'll do that next. That's all fine. Track show event. This code hasn't changed, right? So this is all good. Map from input to live show details, set the date, save it, set the success message, like so. I could be really, really anal. So we could do things like success message equals, I changed this from debug. So, and if I redirect to the page and goes back to the browser, look, I changed this from debug. So I can just prove that it actually, it did work. I'm assuming people, I'm just like randomly hacking things. I do this to really make sure that changes have taken. I'm just assume that other developers do that. I don't know. so many, you know, after 20 years of doing this stuff, there's so many times I think I've done what I wanted, and then I find out later that I was just, there was some veil in front of my eyes. I totally was looking at the wrong thing. So I often like triple check that things are actually working the way I expect them to. So I'm sorry if it makes things take a little longer, but so I'm going to delete that. We'll hit save. That should take me back in here. I'll get rid of this breakpoint now. Validate. Actually, I'll put it back in here because what I want to do is make sure that if I put an invalid date in, that it doesn't work. Let's put in a date that's in the past. So is it valid? It is not. It is false. So that is good. My custom validation property has worked still, or attribute, I should say. Look, supply date must be in the future. Excellent. So I didn't break that. And it means that my Razor Pages has continued to work with all the custom validation logic, the one attribute, that I had before. But this just reinforces that Razor Pages is not a new framework. It's just MVC. It's a slightly different approach, really optimized for doing this type of work, doing a page. So I'm still using an input model because of that limitation I talked about before in terms of binding stuff. But otherwise, this is all really straightforward stuff. Really straightforward stuff. Okay. What next? What next? I need to add the caching. This thing, clear cache. This is going to use a nice feature of Razor Pages that I really, really like, which is the page handlers. Named page handlers. Let me add this. Obviously, I can't put a route here. That's not going to do much. And I don't want to call it clear cache. What I want to do is call this on post clear. And again, I don't have to do this rubbish anymore. I can just do success message equals, and I'm going to redirect back to the page. So again, this is all looking much nicer. No strings, no name of this action method, It's a page. I'm on the same page. Why do I have to do anything? So all this does is when you post to this handler, it grabs the memory cache, calls remove on the YouTube services cache key, says that you've cleared the cache, and then goes back to the form. Okay, post redirect get. How do I get it to invoke this one instead of this one? Well, this is now the handler name, clear cache. So I have to go back to my form. There'll be a second form down here. Here it is, right, for YouTube, and it says clear cache, but that's the old stuff. So I don't want that stuff anymore. I want ASP-page handler. Clear cache, done. So let's triple check. Let's make sure I comment this out. And now I should be able to actually delete this thing now. It's gone. Look at that. Let's delete the admin controller. Let's be brave. Delete. Gone. Well, nearly gone. Going, not responding. Going, not responding. Going, gone. There we go. Remember, I kept my home controller because I'm doing some conegg formattery type stuff over there. So that's perfectly reasonable. All right, let's build that. Awesome. Let's hit F5. And now in theory, my clear YouTube cache will work. Hit that button. YouTube cache cleared successfully. And we know that I just deleted the controller. So that code only exists now in the page. So sweet. So there's my page. That's done. That's my admin page. Done. Simple as that. So, I mean, it looks like a controller, right? It's a page model. It's fully testable because everything's still constructor injected. I mean, nothing ties you. There's not like a traditional code behind in a web forms application. It's nothing like it, other than it's a index.cshtml.cx instead of default.aspx.cx. But page model is not like page. Like this page here does not derive from this. Okay, that's what happened in web forms. This has itself set to the model. Okay, so it works much more like MVC, which means that this page model I can inject stuff into and I can test it. All my properties here are bindable, so these are all read only. I can't bind to them because I haven't marked them with bind property, but I can bind from them. Okay, so I can render all these into the view because they're public, and I have model dot blah blah blah. And then when I do want to bind to stuff, as I showed you, I can use an input model if I want to do validation right now, or I can bind directly to properties in here by decorating with bind property. But if they're primitive types, they're not complex types, you can't put validation attributes on these right now. Okay, so I'm using an input model to do that, and I'm taking the input in here. Okay. And then lastly, remember the temp data. Love the temp data stuff. Okay. Lets you round trip values in a property, kind of like magic. Okay. But in a secure way, going via a cookie. Don't use this for complicated data. Okay. It's really not intended as a replacement for either a session database or a session store or your custom user profile. It's really just intended as a way to shunt data across one request, literally one request. Okay, you're processing a request, you want to save some data so that when the next request comes in for that user, that you have that data, and then it goes away automatically. That's what temp data is for, and it's great for this post redirect get message stuff. Also, this property works just fine in controllers as well. We made it work in controllers as a result of doing this, and it works across controllers and page models or different page models because it just matches the property name, not the full type name. So if you've got 2 pages and you want to do handle a post from one and then redirect to another one, but you want to be able to send data across them like a success message, like you would typically do in a CRUD application, you can do that. Just name the property the same thing in both page models, mark them both as temp data, set it from one page model, read it from the other, you're done. Okay, really, really nice way. Similarly, if you want to do it from a controller to a page or from a page to a controller, it'll just work. Okay, all right. I think the admin controller is done. The only thing left now is I had this account controller, which has nothing in it. Oh, it does have sign in. It does have a bunch of stuff. Look at that. Of course it does. Yeah, see, I'd probably leave all this in here. I mean, I could move this to pages. I could have a sign in page, which doesn't have a UI because this is using Azure AD organizational auth. But I could have, I could have slash sign in as a page, and it would just basically return a challenge result. It would have no HTML. It's probably a little overkill. And I could do a sign out similar thing, and it returns an empty result here. And I could do the sign out callback and have it. So here it's redirecting the homepage. Obviously, that's going to have to be changed. So let's do redirect to page. Right. So here's an example of redirecting to a page from a controller. We have all those helper methods now. So let's just redirect to index. Simple as that. So this is that nice interoperation between controllers and pages because they're all built on the same thing. It's all routing. It's all the same view engine. It's literally the same view engine. It's not 2 view engines. Pages is in the Razor view engine. Okay. I'm going to leave it like that. I really think that is probably just fine. I'm never going to change this sign out stuff. Like I'm never going to change this view here. Oh, I could delete this one now. Don't need the admin folder in my views because now that's replaced with a page. So I can delete that. And then all this stuff, I have to leave here. That's the only problem, right? By keeping this in a view, sorry, I have to keep everything in shared, whereas I'd really just like to move all the HTML stuff into pages. So I'm just convinced myself to change it. So I'm going to change this sign out callback into a page. So let's do that. Where is it right now? It is literally just sign out callback. So this is going to be as easy as dragging that into pages, which is literally going to drag it, not copy it, change it into a page. So come back to my account controller. Where was it? Right, and then I need to put this code, get rid of the route. This code. Callback. And wow, I could annoy a lot of people and just do this. I know there'll be much gnashing of teeth that I have code in here. I'm not sure I can. Public action results on get. It always works. Look. Done. And I need to otherwise return page. That's it. So that's as complicated as this page is ever going to get. And so you could really question whether I really need to put that into its own page model class or whether I could just cheat and have a single CSHTML file that includes my code. Yes, I know people are vomiting all over their keyboards right now, but you know what? Look at it. That's it. It's done. I don't need to ever change that ever again. So I can delete that, and now I simply have to change this because I'm generating that callback URL based on URL.action. I need to call URL.page and say, I want you to generate a URL for the sign out callback page, which I've done, and I want you to pass in these values just like you would before, and here's the protocol. Same stuff, no different. Except that obviously I've missed something. No overload takes 3 arguments. What have I done? Page handler. I guess I passed null. No, I could do this just to make it really. So here we go. I want you to give me a URL for the sign out callback page. No handler. It'll just run the default one. And no values. And I want you to use the current protocol, request.scheme, which will be HTTPS. Look at that. Done. Sign out, new empty result. Bob's your uncle. Too easy. So now I can get rid of the account views folder, and I don't need to share anything anymore. So I can just literally pick all this crap up here. So I'd already done error, so I can delete that. And I can take all this stuff and I can just drag it into pages in the root. Like that. And then I can take views and I can delete it. I'm being pretty confident here. I'm just deleting stuff and moving stuff. I'm not testing it after each thing. Like, I'm sure it'll just work. And then the view models, I don't need these anymore, right? So if I delete that, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Delete. Build. Look at that. Still builds. Still builds. Let's go back to my page. Hit F5. I'll hit the home page at the same time. I'm feeling lucky. Look, there we go. Admin still works. Home page still works. Very good. Error page still works. Very good. And now I just have a pages folder. No views folder. I still need a controllers folder because of the account. What was in home again? Okay, so this is fine. I could rename this from home controller, obviously, now, because it's not actually the home page. It's literally just the get iCal page. So why don't I do that? Let's clean this up a bit. So we can call this calendar controller. Please rename that. That would be great. Yeah, it looks like get it. I got a little E with me there. See if I close and reopen it. If I get my colorization back, there we go. Rebuild that. Yes, Jeffrey is right. You can just delete things confidently because I know everything is in GitHub. So I can always just go back and copy code again. All right. So now I have a calendar controller, which handles using a formatter to produce an iCal file. So I'm not going to change that. I mean, like I said, I could, but like, why would I? So, I mean, here's my iCalendar output formatter. No need to change this. This really doesn't belong as a page, right? It's not a page. It returns a non-page. It returns an iCal file. So leave that in a controller. That's what it's good for. And then my other controller is the account controller that handles the org auth. It's incredibly simple, like sign in. I could put this in a page again, but these things don't return HTML. So I've decided to put them leave them in the account controller and just move the one that does return HTML, which is the sign out callback. You know, I could actually test the sign out callback. It's not used in production, but I do actually see I have a sign out link here. So let's just make sure this still works. I deleted some stuff. If I click sign out, in theory, I think, what is the logic? I think it takes me, does it take me back to the home page, or does it say you have signed out? If I'm authenticated, take me back to the home page. Oh, because that's the callback. I see. What actually happens, I see. So, okay, when I sign out, what should happen is I should get round tripped. I should get signed out, which is handled by the controller. That'll redirect me to the sign out callback page, which will say you have signed out. So if I do this. Oh, well, in the case of org ID, it took me back there. Look at that. There you go. I am signed out. Interesting. So it looks like that behavior may have changed. That's interesting. So I don't know enough about this org ID stuff. It's a little crazy. So I clicked on sign out. It created a callback. It called sign out async of both cookie and OpenID. And then it returned an empty result. And then I'm assuming what happened is the middleware the authentication middleware saw the results of these two signouts in the appropriate like headers or however they pass data up and down the pipeline, and then it took action. Actually, this callback URL isn't even used anywhere. All right, this looks like a complete and utter bug. So now, obviously, I can't leave it like that. I have to go and look at what the templates do, because it just feels like at some point in the past, I have screwed that up. I need to now understand what it should do. So let's go and have a look. Projects 2.0, you'll remember I did this last time. Starter web C#, controllers, account controller. I am looking for sign out here, and I am looking for the organizational auth version. Let's have a look. Is that the only one? Return new sign out. Look at that. Looks like I have to update that. So this looks wrong. Should be doing that. Yeah, look at that. And you can now pass in. There you go. You pass in the callback URL and you pass in the two schemes, which I was doing separately before. So this has changed since 1x, and I just hadn't caught this in the last thing. Why is that not liking me? iAction result. Okay, return that. Oh, it's not async. So that is not async. I'm assuming the middleware then does that. That must do something, flow it back through the pipeline, and then the middleware handles that now, is my guess. Let's try it. Let's see what happens now if I sign out. Okay, so that built. Let's go back to here. We are almost done. This has gone so much more smoothly than I thought it would. Sign in. Yes. Excellent. Sign out. See what happens. You were signed out. Ah, there we go. I ended up on my sign out callback. Much better. Which is now a page, which I should be able to confirm again by going to view source, which of course in Edge is different. And it says pages sign out callback. Outstanding. And if I had been authenticated, if you go to sign out callback while authenticated, it just redirects you to the home page. So I could go back to the home page. I can go here. And this is just because I'm anal. Like I did all this stuff because I don't like it when we have things that if you go to them. So if I go to this now because I'm actually authenticated, this doesn't perform the sign out. This is where you get this is where you get sent to after you've signed out. See, it takes me back to the home page. Now I don't like the fact it's called sign out callback. So I'm going to change this to signed out. So, and then I'm going to come over here, rename this file to signed out. This shows up in the URL, like after you've signed out. Azure will sign you out, say you've signed out, then redirect you back to the home page, to the site that signed you out, and you'll see the URL. So now it says signed out rather than sign out callback, which isn't particularly user friendly. And yes, I have code in my page because I'm a monster. All right, look at that. I'm going to close all this. I think we're in a good place. Let's have a look. So controllers, we have our calendar controller, which we talked about. Now incredibly simple because it only has to do one thing. We have our account controller, which deals with the organizational auth sign in and sign out. That's all it does, sign in and sign out. So that's pretty good. I have, what have I got in here? Oh, some date time extensions, some helper stuff I wrote. There's my formatter for the iCal file. That's good. It's not going to change. I have my HSTS middleware that I wrote for setting the HTTP strict transport security headers. That doesn't change, obviously. Do I need all this? I do need all these. Yep. So that's my custom validation attribute. That's my live show details. That's returned by my live show details service. That's then bound to pages and whatnot. Here's my show DTO, effectively. That says details for each show when they come back from the YouTube API. I map them to this type. I get an enumerable of shows. It gets rendered on the homepage. So that's all fine. None of that changes. Now all my UI is in this pages folder. So I can just happily collapse that. I have all my services that actually perform my business logic, right? My abstractions, app insights, service options, setup, app start, all the Azure storage show, like when I store stuff in Azure storage, when I store it locally, I've got my cached web root file provider. I have another video where I built that. There's my class that I talked about in the beginning that sets all that deployment environment SHA, the thing that talks to Git. So this is a thing that actually shells out to Git and figures out the current commit and all that type of stuff. Here's the live show details when I saved a local file system. Bunch of interfaces. What is this one? Oh, this is how I add. This is my little extensions to add all my services into the container. Okay, so that's all good. There's my simple mapper. I've got a couple of custom tag helpers, label title tag helper that is used on the admin page. So if I come here, it has to work, shouldn't I? Admin. I am signed in. Come on, there we go. I should be able to hover over these. It says URL for embedding the live show. Message to show on homepage during show standby. That's all comes from that tag helper from model metadata. My script inlining tag helper, which I really should test that it still works because every time I have broken it in the past and not realized. Script inlining, as you can imagine, on the homepage, it inlines small scripts. So it allows me to keep all the JavaScript that does the countdown on the homepage in its own file, but then down here, right at the bottom, in the scripts, you can see here. Right. So when I'm in, oh, I can change this. This is new. This is new. Include, exclude, development. That's new in ASP.NET Core 2. All right. You don't have to do names anymore. You can just say include this section when you're in development and only render this section when you're not in development. All right. So rather than having to name all the other ones. So that's kind of good. Yeah. So currently, this won't show locally because it only shows when I'm in production. So I would have to do what I did before, which I could. And then this script gets inlined because it's so small. There's no point in rendering it. I do it in development too. Look at that. Silly me. I can just show you. Where's the homepage? Where did I put it? Here. So if I come here and I do page source, you'll see, there it is. There's my JavaScript inlined. Okay. So that's actually in a separate file. I write that in a separate file in the project, but it gets inlined by that tag helper. And then I think I wrap it in cache, down here. So when I'm in production, it only renders once because it doesn't change once it's deployed. But when it's local, obviously I want it to run every time. So it's not inside a cache tag helper. That's it. So tag helper's done, app settings done, blah, blah, blah. Gulp, I'm just like mentally enumerating all the stuff here. I probably should change this to match what we do in our templates now. Startup looks fine now. That's good. That's pretty much looks like what our startup looks like now. I don't have App Insight logging turned on. I think that was because of the logger changes. I think I'll leave that uncommented out until we get that finished. And I have a timing helper class that I use here when I'm doing my App Insights timing. I think that's where I use that from. Yes. Yes. Save to Azure Storage, started, get timestamp, etc., etc. Okay. Good. So I'm going to fix my program main, and that's going to be it. So I need to make this look like the current templates do. So let's go back to the templating repo. Let's go back to here, content, starter web, program main. Should look like that. And that is because this pattern is supported by some of the project tools that we have, specifically things like EF and scaffolding that need to be able to call into your application at dev time when you run the tool and get the service container as it would be configured by your application at runtime so that it can do things like find your DB contexts, read the connection stream from configuration, all that type of stuff. So this pattern allows them to do that as opposed to the way we did it in 1X, which was a little yucky, really. So this is better. just trust me, this is better. All right, so program main now just calls build webhost.run. Build webhost creates the default builder and calls use startup. Just make sure I wasn't missing. Oh, I'd still need to call I could get rid of this because we inject that by default now. Actually, I will. I'm just going to get rid of it. You don't need to do it anymore because we inject application insights when you're debugging in Visual Studio automatically, and you can opt into injecting it in Azure. Once you've installed the Application Insights site extension into your app service, it will also inject Application Insights into your ASP.NET Core 2 application. So you don't need to do that anymore. Oh, no, I do because I use it. I actually have custom events. So I do need it in DI. I can't just rely on the light up. So yeah, it's fine if you want automatic tracking to work, but I actually use Application Insights in my application directly. I log events, like when application starts up, when it shuts down. I briefly talked about the live show event that I created, but things like dependency tracking, that all happens automatically now. So I don't have to do anything about that. I removed all that code already. Okay, so that's all I have to do. I think we are done. Now, if I was really confident, what I would do now, let's try it. I mean, I've got plenty of time. I'm going to commit this, and then we'll see if it actually deploys automatically into the branch that I've already set up for this, into the deployment slot, sorry. Let's add all this stuff. I quite like Tortoise Git. I do have the new GitHub desktop. I just haven't used it much. So, you know, I don't want to try new things particularly. Finished migrating to Razor pages. Okay. That's really all I have to say, isn't it? It's done. And I think this will still work on Azure because I'm still using under the covers preview 1, even though I'm using some preview 2 packages. If I wanted to, okay, let's try running, let's try publishing it locally first. So I can get ahead of any issue I might create. Oh, look, I forgot to commit. I did it from the wrong folder. I hate when I do that. Point to CI feeds. Obviously, when the next preview is publicly released, I won't need to do that anymore, but I have to right now. Yeah, source tree isn't too bad for Git stuff. I've always liked Tortoise Git for the commit and for its tree viewing. I really like its log. So if I show you, if you haven't seen it before, show log. I really like this view. This is all branches. You can turn all branches off. I mean, this is just my repo, so there's not particularly large amount of branches, but you can see dev is all the way back here, and then all the new stuff I've been doing is the move to 2.0 preview 1 is after that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to publish this first. So I'm going to do a .NET publish. I'm going to do -c release -output C drive /live ASP.NET out. I'm just going to do that. Right? I'm going to publish the site to a completely separate folder, just so I know that it's not going to get polluted somehow. So that built the site. Now it's running gulp because I've got that hooked up to my publish, and it exploded. So that's because, why is it trying to find view models? Oh, live show partial. That's interesting. This is why you publish first. Live show partial. This will be a namespace import. So you know what happened? After I moved everything into the pages folder, I didn't test the live show again. I didn't do a full regression test. So what's going to happen now is if I come over here and I put that URL back in, it's going to fail. Save. It's thinking. It's thinking. I saw it. There it is. And I hit it's going to explode. Watch. No, it worked. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what it's complaining about then. Let's see if we can figure this out. Live show, blah, 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 type of namespace view. Okay. So I think it looks like it's because I have warnings as errors turned on. Yeah, you can see here. Look, don't need that anymore. That's not a thing. See, why is that not failing? That makes no sense. Oh, I know. I don't use that partial anymore. Remember, I took the contents of that and I just embed it directly in the page. So I don't need that anymore. And what was happening is it was trying to be compiled by the view precompilation and failing because it doesn't compile. So that is a feature that we're trying to enable in a future version of Visual Studio, is to have it essentially check all your views for correctness during normal build without you having to do a precompile. All right, what do we got this time? Resolve, blah, 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 something, something, failed unexpectedly. File not found, ASP.NET Core, something, something, something. Okay. ASP.NET Core, oh, interesting. So that, oh, huh. So it looks like it may have restored the all meta package. If I close this, now we're really getting into the underbelly of how some of this new stuff works. I did mention that this package here is not built and published on this feed. It's only done on this feed. However, I'm going to take a bet that it is actually on that feed. It just doesn't work. Right? And so if I come up here and I look for this, it is there. But if you use it from that feed, it fails. So this could be really misleading. Let me see if I can. Let me just see if it has updated since then. It'd be nice if I could get this published. It really would. Still 8 days ago. Let's give it a go. I'm going to pin this version. And this will probably fail horribly. But we'll see. Because what I'm effectively doing now is I'm saying get this version of this package, which is going to come from that feed. But then all the other ones I'm floating, right, to higher versions, which is going to get them from this feed because this has later builds on it. And I need that because I know the Razor Pages fix is on that feed. It's in a later version. So let's try it. Let's save that. It's going to restore. It's restoring right now. Right, here it goes. Restoring new get packages. And then I'll check to make sure that it actually restored 25179 of ASP.NET Core All. And the reason this is important is because this package is what determines your use of the new runtime store, which is what it was failing on publish. And that's used. So now I'm getting a package downgrade, which is fine. I was getting that before, actually, so that's fine. So if I come over here and look at my dependencies, go to NuGet, look at all, it is using the correct version. So the one I asked for. So let's build. You know, I'm really not confident this isn't going to break something, but you know, let's try. F5. Yep, there you go. Type load exceptions. Yep. So I could fix this maybe by going through and lifting more versions. So in this case, it's the IS integration middleware, and I could just do this one by one. So I could come in here and I could say, hey, let's grab this. Let's change this to, I think it's a server IS integration. Now I've lifted this one further than this version, okay? And this one will come from the other feed. All right, so now I'm going to use, there you go. So 2336, see it matches the build number of all the other things I've hoisted. If I build that, because again, as I said to you at the beginning, this is god-awful things. Like I'm doing things that you shouldn't do here. I'm mixing different maturities of builds. Oh, I'm like, oh, but look, oh my God, did it work? Did it actually work? Let's go back to, see if I can find it. Where is it? There it is. Homepage still work? Oh, amazing. All right. Maybe we can make this work. Maybe it really was that simple today. Wow. Okay. So let's go back down and let's publish, see if it works. Probably won't. Probably won't. But it's worth a try. Look at that. It published. My goodness. All right. So I'm going to create a new console window. I'll go to that folder. Live. So there it is. There's my published app. Note I have a whole bunch of stuff in my output folder as opposed to what you would normally get in a 2.0 app, which is you wouldn't get anything in here except your app because I've hoisted things. As I just said, I started depending on newer versions of packages, which means they can't be trimmed out based on the old package because this package, which does the trimming, now is different to all these packages. All right. And so these packages assemblies and all their dependencies that got lifted as a result of this version number have to now go in my bin folder. But that's fine. All right, here they are. So the question is, will it run from a published location? Let's have a look. So if I do .NET live.asp.net.dll, oh, it says cannot find which package? Cannot find the Facebook package. Yep. Okay. So things got knocked out and then tried to go, yeah, so this is never going to work. So what the problem is, when it got published, oh, that's a nice tip. Command or PowerShell, hold down Control Shift and mouse wheel. Here's the transparency. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Jeffrey, you just blew my mind. You know, I used to set the transparency manually, and then after so many PC rebuilds, I just don't be bothered. But now, look at that. Gee, the Windows team have really upped their game, haven't they? All right. So the reason this is failing is because this package affects your publish by default. And because I've brought in a specific version of this package, it says when you publish, please do not publish any DLLs that map to this version, you know, anything that's referenced by this, because I expect them to find them in the runtime store, right? That new location that's on disk, and I can show you that. It gets installed as part of installing .NET Core. So I can go to Program Files, .NET, and here, store, right? But my store was laid down as part of installing Preview 1. So it doesn't include Preview 2 stuff. I didn't install the Preview 2 store. I just installed a random like hourly build from our CI server. So if I want publish to work, I have to turn off that trimming feature, which means my app's going to be enormous, but it would actually work after publishing. Because if I push this now and I try and get it to deploy to Azure, it won't work. It'll fail with the same thing. So, you know, I could, or I could just wait until Preview 2. Like all the code is done now. But there is a property you can set, and it is, what is it? What's the property name? Meta packages. It's in source. I think it's in source. It's in here. Oh, not archive. That one. Build. Targets. And there's a property in here. Publish with ASP.NET Core target manifest. If I set that to false, so then I come back here and let's remove everything in here. PowerShell. Jeez. Remove. What did that do? Oh, so I cheat all the time. I just do this. All right. So now that's empty. Come back to my other window. Run publish again. Okay. So this time I'm going to publish will take a bit longer because it has to copy the world in theory. Oh, wow. Now I can't tell which one's which because they're transparent. And I have all the assemblies of the planet inside my application. About, I don't know, 180 of them. Plus a bunch of localized assemblies that I don't really need, but they come as part of the Windows Azure storage NuGet package. So, what are you going to do? So now I should be able to run this. Well, barring the next problem not existing. Look at that. Now it runs. Production at localhost 5000. Boom. So there's my published app running. So in theory then, I could, if I was to commit that change and push that, which I will right now. How big is this folder? See, like, short PowerShell people. I just do this. It's 42 meg. I can live with it. It's not going to be, I'm not going to run the live site like this. It's just running in a branch. So let's commit this. Not that one. That's the wrong folder. This one here. So here, let's commit this change, which was just changing the project file. And okay, unused partial, and don't trim or don't use ASP Core publish manifest. Okay, that was this change here, adding that property there. There it is. I hoisted that one and I took that one there. Let's commit that. Let's push that. Okay, so now I'm going to push that to my preview 1 branch. And then, in theory, I can do this. While that's running, go to the portal. That's pushed. And then by the time this loads, if the race condition, we'll see how quickly Kudu picks this up. This tile will tell me it's deploying that change. Nope, not yet, but I can click on that. Because I set up a different staging slot or deployment slot, as they call them now, and I pointed it at the branch, the 200 preview 1 branch in my repo. And so I have a different URL, a different staging slot for my site, or deployment slot, sorry, that does that. Oh, that's why. That's the wrong one. That's staging. So I need to go back, go to here, go to deployment slots, go to preview 2 -1 or 2.0 preview 1, go to deployment options, and this, oh, look, it failed instantly. Look at that. Why did it fail? That didn't take long. Fetching changes, an unknown error has occurred. Wow. Remote origin already exists. That's new. Let's try a redeploy. I haven't seen that one before. Failed to redeploy. Wow, that's interesting. Let's do a sync. Okay, it's being updated. There we go. Maybe I needed to do a sync. That might be because of the application setting that I have set up on these, which forces Kudu to use the fast or temporary drive, which makes my deployments faster until the machine gets recycled, and then they don't work anymore. And then I have to go and hit sync, which is probably what that was. So now that I have fixed that, this will run and will probably take about 5 minutes, because it has to pull everything down, set up the local Git repo on the web server that's running my site. That's how Kudu works. It will then run the build script, or generate the build script, and then run the build script, which obviously has to do a NuGet restore. I've added feeds, so it has to actually download all that stuff from Migrate. Like it's a lot of stuff that'll have to happen, and then it finally will build. And because Kudu, because my Azure App Service is not, the server it's running on is not as powerful as this local laptop, and it's using a much slower drive. It takes about 5 minutes. So I'm not going to sit here and make you watch it, but you can see it's actually doing it now. And then once that happens, once it's finished, I'll be able to go and hit this URL here, and I'll be able to see it running, which is great. I see my Razor Pages site running. So that is it. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If people don't know where this code is, if you've never watched me do this before, it's up on GitHub at asp.net/live.asp.net. All right, this is where the source code is, and this is where I've been working. So the full history of everything I've done on this site, of this project, is here. I've done a number of videos on this site under this account, as well as my Damien at Damien Edwards YouTube account. So you can look between those two if you're interested in seeing some of the work I've done before. And whenever I make major changes, I do endeavor to try and do them live on here and hope that it will help someone. So again, thanks for watching. And I guess I can stop screen sharing and actually show you my face. I won't do a dramatic zoom out. That really is just for the community stand up. But thanks to the 22 people that are watching, and the another 50 or so that'll watch in the next week. And if you've got any suggestions for things that you'd like to see us do like this and other topics, do send them our way. Like send them either, tweet them to me, or to Hanselman or John, or to Glenn Condron on my team, or Dan Roth on my team, or Sarab on my team. And I can get people in here doing live streams for any other stuff. This project obviously has a limited scope because I don't use EF. I'm going directly to Azure Storage, but I do use App Insights. I do use Windows Azure AD Org Auth, so I have to fix those things every time. But if we have other projects that might be more interesting to people to see us work on them. So yeah, thanks a lot, and I'll see you all next time.